Jose Chille DeCastro's It's All About Me tour continues as he disrupts the Duncan, Oklahoma City Council meeting to talk to viewers, bystanders, and himself over apparent imagined misconduct by police. How far will he go to promote himself over the events he's covering? Jeremiah Payne, involved in hard stop of Clarksville Transit Bus, says driver deliberately hard stopped to injure Payne and wife Samantha. CHILLE DECASTRO turns coverage of CHARLIE KIRK into a celebration of all things chilly. It's his birthday and you're not gonna stop the CHILLE train. Plus, Carolina in Fort Worth's nightmare comes true. Officer involved in incident that sent her to the hospital last year has firing overturned. I'm your humble newsreader, Pence. You're swimming upstream in a river of fools. Will you watch me rush in and swim beside you as all the water flows over us and we give in to the current of destiny known as auditing insanity? The Duncan, Oklahoma monthly city council meeting was graced by the presence of First Amendment auditor and activist Jose Chille DeCastro on Wednesday, who disrespected the council by loudly talking through the meeting before urging a crackdown on police corruption during his allotted speaking time. DeCastro was in Duncan for another day, gathering information on corrupt police tactics, as he said he was still investigating the case of Heather Chandler, a woman who he says was the subject of a targeted harassment campaign by a Duncan police officer named Darius McReynolds. The diminutive YouTuber showed a portion of a body cam video where McReynolds pulled over Chandler, who was riding a bicycle, apparently late at night, in an area DeCastro described as the middle of nowhere. Reynolds said the reason for the stop was that he could not see Chandler's light at the front of her bicycle. Once he confirmed it was working, he warned Chandler that she was required to have a bell on the front of her bicycle, or else she could be subject to further stops. Chandler was not given a citation in the incident, and despite DeCastro's claims, the body cam video appeared to showcase a random, if uneventful, traffic stop. DeCastro repeated his claim that McReynolds was stalking Chandler throughout the video. He told both Duncan Police Chief Brian Attaway and Police Major David Woods that McReynolds, despite driving a police vehicle with lights on in the dark, would not have been able to see Chandler without front light. Neither man seemed worried about the stop, despite DeCastro's claim that the stop was illegal, as he said that McReynolds lacked probable cause to pull Chandler over. DeCastro had also apparently been at the home of a relative of McReynolds earlier in the week, as police were called to respond to remove him from the property. The YouTuber insisted on speaking with Officer McReynolds at the home and complied with police without incident when asked to leave. While at the Duncan Police Department, which shares a building with the Duncan Town Hall where the city council meeting was set for later in the afternoon, DeCastro introduced a man named Robert Campbell, a full disabled veteran who lived in the area. Campbell said he was involved in an incident earlier in the year where he was feeling depressed and suicidal and went to police for help, as he said there was no other veterans outreach program in the area. An incident occurred as Campbell blacked out and at one point was taken down to the ground while still in handcuffs. DeCastro played a small snippet of the events from that incident, telling viewers that Campbell was WWE-style chokeslammed by police. Again, when speaking with Police Chief Attaway and Major Woods, both men pledged to look into the body cam footage, but would not comment to immediate disciplinary action against the officers involved in the alleged choke slamming. DeCastro appeared more amped up and agitated as the live stream progressed, leading to the city council meeting. At one point, DeCastro lost Campbell and approached both Duncan Mayor Robert Angstrom and an unidentified city council member separately to attempt to show them the video of Campbell's interaction with police. Once the city council meeting started, DeCastro continued a loud, whispering commentary to his live stream viewers, paying no attention to the meeting until it was time for public feedback. In his allotted time, DeCastro introduced himself as a civil rights activist and constitutional law scholar. He said he was in Duncan to investigate Officer McReynolds for stalking Heather Chandler and would be able to show the council proof of McReynolds' inappropriate behavior. He also briefly touched on the incident with Campbell, again offering to show city council members the video of the incident. DeCastro pledged that he would be in Campbell for the foreseeable future, as he was exposing more and more corruption within the police force. When it was Campbell's time to speak, Campbell did not decry the incident with police. Instead, he complained about a lack of resources for veterans in the area and proposed that the city council grant him money to wrap his car in a design that advertised veterans' mental health awareness. He also mentioned that he wanted to open a YouTube channel with the help of the city council dedicated to the same subject. He asked for the city council's help in promoting the YouTube channel as he finished his remarks. After Campbell's remarks, DeCastro approached Major Woods and badgered the officer with loudly whispered questions. While he was being shushed by Woods, a member of the American Legion reminded veterans in the area that they did weekly outreach programs for veterans and that they provided mental health services for veterans in the area. When DeCastro said that he and Major Woods were developing a great friendship, Woods replied with, "No, we are not." DeCastro's stream ended with the YouTuber meeting back up with Campbell and announcing that Campbell may be suing the city based on the supposed choke slamming. According to a published report by CBS News Texas, Fort Worth officer Matthew Krueger's firing was overturned on Monday, following his termination after a June 2024 incident that left YouTuber Carolina in Fort Worth Rodriguez hospitalized. That incident took place in Fort Worth last year as Rodriguez was doing a routine live stream of bars closing in downtown Fort Worth, and police helping to clear the streets. She unknowingly walked into a crime scene as she went to confront a police officer who she thought was illegally towing cars in a private parking lot. After the male officer ignored her presence, Rodriguez followed two female officers who also ignored her. Trying to get the female officers' attention, Rodriguez screamed various things at them, indicating that she was in need of help. Officer Krueger arrived on the scene a few seconds later and ordered Rodriguez to leave the area as it was an active crime scene. When Rodriguez failed to move, a brief struggle ensued involving Rodriguez and Krueger. Two different video feeds of the incident show two very different things. In one, Krueger seems to throw Rodriguez around like a rag doll as she was violently thrown to the ground. The other shows that Rodriguez was clearly resisting and seemed to fall forward to escape Krueger's grasp, resulting in her injuries. Rodriguez was knocked unconscious when she hit the ground and was briefly hospitalized with arm and head injuries. She was later charged with false alarm or report, interference with public duties, resisting arrest, search or transport, and evading arrest detention. YouTuber Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova came to Fort Worth in support of Rodriguez, and mass gatherings of First Amendment auditors were planned, but did not materialize. Rodriguez would go on to address the Fort Worth City Council over the incident, but further actions were delayed as the City Council went into summer recess and did not focus on her case when it returned. Officer Krueger was investigated for the use of excessive force in the incident and was terminated from the police force in 2024. He appealed the decision, and an independent investigation showed that Krueger followed proper police procedure in the incident, resulting in the overturning of his termination this week. Rodriguez was convicted of interference in December of 2024, with the other charges dropped. She is currently on probation from the incident, and she is required to stay 25 feet away from police while filming during the course of her probation. The YouTuber held a 3-hour live stream Wednesday night in which she expressed her outrage at Officer Krueger's apparent reinstatement. She said, "I just don't get it," when asked how a violent thug like Krueger could be reinstated to the police force. Joined by YouTuber Manuel Mata, the pair claimed that Krueger's reinstatement more than likely had everything to do with Rodriguez's lawsuit over the incident. With no finding of fault through Krueger's firing to back her claims, Rodriguez expressed concern that her case would be harder to litigate in her favor. Mata added that it continued a pattern of corruption within the Fort Worth police force and backed Rodriguez's claims that Krueger was a danger to the public. This is a breaking news story. Jose "CHILLE DeCastro's Wednesday afternoon live stream following the death of political activist CHARLIE KIRK somehow turned away from the subject of mourning Kirk's death and into a celebration of all things CHILLE DeCastro. Kirk's death on Wednesday brought national headlines as police had not shared information on suspects in the incident as of Wednesday evening. DeCastro started his stream by remembering Kirk, who he said he had met at a Turning Point USA event in 2020. While making it clear that he had no problems with Kirk, DeCastro explained that he disagreed with Kirk's position on a lot of issues, including that of the treatment of transgender individuals. He said he left his association with Kirk and Turning Point USA over these disagreements. DeCastro proclaimed that Kirk's death was the new 9/11 for influencers, and that the day would go down in history as the day that influencers became fearful for their lives and may be attacked or killed for speaking out on the subjects that they were passionate about. The YouTuber and self-proclaimed constitutional law scholar complained bitterly that police showed no fear when they interacted with influencers and that influencers would need to watch their own backs going forward. He then went into graphic detail about Kirk's injuries, telling his audience that he knew Kirk was dead, as he had been shot in the throat. He said that, as a hunter, he would often wound an animal in that area, as it was guaranteed to end the animal's life. Turning his attention to his current trip to Duncan, Oklahoma, DeCastro said that the trip was costing him money, as he would be out $2,000 in airfare, as he had just paid for his ticket home. He said the cause was worth it, and implied that he would be making his money back off of super chats and donations from his fans for the coverage. The YouTuber said that he was hearing from much more people in Duncan who were telling him that they were pulled over on their bicycles, just like Heather Chandler. Chandler's arrest for a fake DUI and her subsequent encounters with police while riding her bicycle, after losing her license, prompted DeCastro's visit to the area. DeCastro rallied against requiring bicyclists to follow traffic laws and said that it was unnecessary for police to pull over bicyclists for riding their bikes on the wrong side of the road. He also rallied against Duncan police officers Nathan and Christian Hicks. Nathan Hicks is the Duncan Police Force's canine officer. Hicks, his wife, is also a member of the Duncan Police Force. DeCastro has accused Christian Hicks of murdering canine officer Ringo with a rifle last year and has demanded a new investigation into the murder of Ringo by police or an outside agency. Both Duncan Police Chief Brian Attaway and Police Major David Woods said that McReynolds had previously told DeCastro that an investigation into Ringo's apparent death was conducted and would have to contact the Duncan District Attorney for more information about the outcome. Chief Attaway also explained directly to DeCastro on Wednesday that it was Duncan police policy not to talk to reporters without advanced permission to do so from the chief. At that time, he told DeCastro that he would not be giving his officers permission to talk to DeCastro. Despite Chief Attaway's warning, DeCastro said that he had gone to the Hickses' house, saw a squad car parked in the driveway, and received no response when he knocked on their door to interview the couple. DeCastro told his followers that the couple were cowards for not responding to his legitimate request for an interview. Continuing his thoughts on Duncan police, DeCastro said that his influence was so powerful and fear of exposure by DeCastro was so great that police were no longer patrolling the streets of Duncan and may not do so until he leaves. Describing his growing national influence, DeCastro accused YouTube of attempting to stifle that influence. He directly stated that YouTube punished him for exposing the so-called Trump takeover of Washington, D.C. last month by suspending his account for a week. DeCastro had previously claimed that his investigation of the Trump takeover exposed it as a hoax, and that there was no police crackdown following President Donald J. Trump dispatching National Guardsmen to fight a supposed crime emergency in the nation's capital. Recent news stories by the Associated Press side with DeCastro's assessment, as the majority of dispatched National Guardsmen filled time in the city working on gardening and city beautification programs due to a lack of crime in the area. DeCastro's passionate pleas did nothing to help the GoFundMe individual campaigns he set up for himself, Heather Chandler, and Craig Hendry. Wednesday's GoFundMe crown went to Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Reyes, with $185 in donations to his Help Me Fight These Unlawful Charges campaign. His Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign placed second with a $161 donation. Lane Myers's Legal Defense Give Send Go campaign placed third with a $5 donation. Thursday saw a repeat victory for Reyes's Help Me Fight These Unlawful Charges campaign with $106 in new donations. There were no other donations observed to campaigns we follow for either day. DeCastro announced that he would be live streaming for several hours in celebration of his birthday later on Thursday. Clarksville, Tennessee-based First Amendment auditor Jeremiah Payne published a video on Wednesday in which he and his wife were apparently injured when a Clarksville public transport bus came to an unexpected stop, throwing both him and his wife Samantha to the ground. The video started with Payne reminding his viewers that, due to a back injury, his wife Samantha is unable to sit in the hard plastic seats of buses in the area. Because of this, she was standing at the time of the incident, despite rules against standing on city buses. Payne said he was standing beside her to prevent his wife from falling. Payne's 7-year-old daughter was properly seated along with their dog Skittles. He said that the bus came to an abrupt stop at a red light, going from 60 miles per hour to 0 in an instant, throwing him and his wife to the floor. Others were apparently injured in the incident, as Payne said that one man hit his head on a seat rest, and another man may have re-injured his knee after recent knee surgery. Payne himself showed a contusion and swelling on one of his legs, along with bruises and scrapes on his legs and arms. It is unclear if the scrapes and bruises were older, as Payne did not indicate how long has passed since his filming in the park and the actual incident. He shared that he and his wife Samantha refused to go to an emergency room in Clarksville, but would be getting checked out in an emergency room in Nashville the following day. Payne also revealed that a Clarksville public transport supervisor had banned his family from riding the bus for the rest of the day, leaving his family stranded about 9 miles from home. The YouTuber then played his recording of the aftermath of the incident, with the video starting moments after the apparent incident. Payne and wife Samantha were screaming at the bus driver, while other passengers occasionally chimed in to support the pair. Payne said that the bus driver committed vehicular assault on everyone in the bus, then claimed that the bus driver was threatening everyone when he commented, "If you think that was slamming on the brakes, I'll show you slamming on the brakes." That comment was followed by Payne eventually stating that if the driver thought he was hit with a good punch, he'd show him a good punch. Despite Payne saying he wasn't threatening the bus driver pulled over, ordered Payne and family off the bus, and police were summoned. As police arrived, Payne explained to an officer that his wife needed back and hip surgery and showed off his own injury. Seeing the injury, Payne's daughter blurted out that her daddy got injured in the knee, where he already needed knee surgery. Payne and the passenger who just had knee surgery demanded an ambulance, and an ambulance eventually arrived on the scene. Payne apparently refused to be treated at the scene, No one was charged on scene, and a police officer had to separate Payne from the driver of the bus when Payne would later demand the bus driver's badge number. Again, Payne interjected that after the incident resolved and the family began to walk to the next bus stop, a Clarksville public transit representative approached them and banned them from riding on the bus for the rest of the day. No video was presented of that interaction. The Payne family were previously kicked off a bus belonging to Nashville's We Go public transit bus in June after Samantha Payne refused to sit as required by We Go policy. Jeremiah Payne accused the bus driver of racism and threatened a lawsuit over the incident. It is unclear why the Clarksville public transportation driver allowed both Paynes to remain standing during their ride. Payne said he was suing Clarksville Public Transit as a result of the incident as the stream ended. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.